You're listening to Men of Abundance, episode 211 with Aaron Hendon. And today we're talking about transformational education and leadership development, two of my very favorite subjects.
Welcome to Men of Abundance, the podcast for those looking to level up their lives by hanging out with some of the greatest leaders and established professionals in our community, living a life of integrity, honor, and the abundance mentality. Prepare to pay it forward with your host, former Army medic turned lifestyle entrepreneur, Wally Carmichael.
What is going on, Men of Abundance? I am Wally Carmichael, your founder and host of the Men of Abundance podcast, the Pay It Forward community. And this is where we are talking about living a life of abundance in family, faith, finances, and fitness. And much of the way that we do that is through experiences and education. Now, if you don't have your own experiences yet, then the next best way to get those experiences is to connect with those who have experienced those experiences, experienced many different things in life that you yourself would like to experience, and gain the education from those who have come before you. That's much of what we're doing here. We're having conversations with mostly men, women as well, because Lord knows we have a lot to learn from women. And we are learning from their experiences, their kick-in-the-gut moments, the books they've read, their habits that they do on a daily basis, and so many other things. And it's just so important for you to go out and not just listen to Men of Abundance, but take action on the action steps that are shared in every single episode with every conversation that we've had from all of our guests. And today is absolutely no different. Our featured guest today, Aaron Hendon, is a Seattle Realtor, real estate investor, author, educator, and speaker. He is managing partner of Christine & Company, a Seattle Magazine awarded 5-star real estate agent, winning team for the past 5 years, an individual rising star in Seattle real estate winner this year. Inside his commitment to make a real difference for people, Aaron has also been leading transformational education seminars and leadership development programs since 1995. Born in New York, Aaron graduated SUNY Purchase with a BFA in 1997. Discovering his fine art degree made him eligible to work in the food service industry anywhere in the country. Moving to New Mexico immediately after school, he eventually found his stride opening a real New York bagel shop in Albuquerque, selling it 9 years later as a business grossing over $1 million annually. He eventually landed in the Northwest in 2000. He now lives on a small island off the coast of Seattle with his brilliant wife, Kale, his brilliant 2 children, Leela and Jonah, and his adoring, if not exactly brilliant, golden doodle, Rosie. Men of Abundance, it is my honor to introduce you to Aaron Hendon. Aaron, welcome to Men of Abundance, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much, Wally. Thank you for having me on.
It's my pleasure. Where are you at in the world?
I am on a small island off the coast of Seattle called Vashon Island. So I always joke around, tell people I live on a small island in the Pacific. But of course it's off Seattle, so it's cold and rainy most of the time. But it's lovely. It's a beautiful place. I love living here, love raising my family here. It's really a best move I ever made, really, honestly.
It sounds amazing. You know, even myself, a lot of people, including myself, don't realize just how many islands there are around the United States. I got another Jesse Cole, who's the founder of not the founder, but he bought the Savannah Bananas out in Georgia. He lives off of Hendon Island out in Georgia. And it's like all these islands. And, you know, I love island life. Obviously, I've been to Puerto Rico. I've lived in an island out in the middle of the Pacific, Oahu, in Hawaii for, 10 plus years. But, when people think about island life, they think about Hawaii, and that's about it.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
There's so many islands to live on out there. It's amazing. Like, and you think of Ecker Island. I mean, who wouldn't want to go visit Richard Branson out there,
Right. But very it's lovely.
Cool. So how did you end up out there? That's very intriguing to me.
Well, let's see. I'm originally from New York, so my life story is I grew up in New York, went to art school in New York, graduated with a Bachelor of Fine Art degree, which I found made me eligible to work in the food service industry anywhere in the world, actually. And so I took my fine art degree and I went to Albuquerque, New Mexico with the woman I was living with. started waiting tables. One day the baker in the restaurant there quit, and I could learn how to bake. I learned how to bake because I was in art school. It's a very common outcome of art school is learning how to bake. And I baked bread, and I baked bread in the restaurant for a while, and then I started my own bakery in Albuquerque, and we sold bagels to New Mexicans for about 9 years. Just a ton of fun, very successful business, very fun, good time. Made a big difference for a lot of people at that time. And then at some point in there, my business coach recommended that I do a educational program called the Landmark Forum, which I had never heard of, and all seemed like West Coast woo-woo. But I wound up doing it, and it blew my mind. It was unbelievable for me, unbelievable. And after about 5 years, I wound up selling my business, selling bakery, and I went to work for that company. I went to work for Landmark, and I moved from Albuquerque to Phoenix, and then with Landmark, I moved from Phoenix to Seattle. And then during that time in Seattle, my wife and I had 2 children. We had both our children during that time. And I wound up leaving Landmark and taking some other sales jobs. And then at some point in there, I got, we wanted to find a place with good public schools that we could afford. And Seattle was a rising fast real estate market. So we found this great spot on this island. And we moved out here, and now I sell real estate, and I'm an author now, and we just have this idyllic sort of, I know you're going to ask me what I'm grateful for later, but man, I'm just immensely grateful for the life I've gotten to live up until now. It's just a gift.
Yeah, I was going to say that is a lot to be grateful for, to say the least.
No,
but obviously, I don't want to put words in your mouth. So, what are you grateful for specifically today?
Well, I mean, that my wife has been willing to live with me for 20 years.
Yeah.
That's a good one. That my children are both healthy and funny and like the same sports I like. I think that's something to be grateful for. That I live in paradise and live in a land of opportunity and a time. We were talking pre-show about the time we live in, and with the technology that's available and the communication skills, the communication abilities, the capacity that we have to reach out, that you and I are sitting here on the other side of the globe, just chatting away, hear each other, are then going to record it and then save it and send it out, and who knows where it's going to go, and that the message that we're creating can go out. Man, if you're not grateful for that, you're missing a huge opportunity to be grateful for life. It's just a miracle. It's a miracle.
Yeah, it really is. It's simply amazing. We truly live in a world of abundance, and especially those of you who are listening to this right now, you're definitely living in a world of abundance. And last I checked, Men of Abundance is being downloaded in 63 countries. And that just totally blows my mind that people like in Singapore and Bangladesh and China, literally China, people are listening to our conversations in China. It's amazing. It truly just blows my mind, the technology that we have. It's really cool, and that's a lot to be grateful for, man. So how would you describe yourself, Aaron?
Well, let's see. I am a very driven person. There's a personality test that we use at the office to find, the best seat on the bus for people on our team. And it's the DISC profile. I don't know if people are probably familiar with it somewhere. And but anyway, I'm a very high D. I'm a very driven person, and like to work, like to be focused, like to get stuff done. Don't like to chit chat. Don't like to, do detail like that. I just like to get stuff done. Mm-hmm. So there's definitely that aspect, and then of my life. And then there's an aspect of my life where I'm very committed to fulfilling on the opportunity I have to contribute and make a difference for people. And, everything I do is somewhat touched with or tinged with, colored by the opportunity I have to make a difference. Those much is given, much is asked for, and I consider much was given to me. I live a life of immense privilege, and really find it appropriate that I find all kinds of ways to give back.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're talking about all the amazing things going on in your life, and we all know that even though those of us who are truly living a life of abundance in our own right, it gives some people the impression that that's always been our life, that we've always had it that way, and that we never have kick in the gut moments, like I like to call them. But I'd love for you to share. I know you have several kick in the gut moments. I'd love for you to share one of those kick in the gut moments with us and really make us feel that.
Well, you were asking about it earlier. I think the first kick in the gut moment I had really was probably one of the most impactful. Was I worked for my dad. My dad was a photographer, and I worked for him for years growing up in the basement, printing photographs and doing stuff. And he fired me. I wasn't getting the job done. I was being lazy. And he, I was probably 15 or 16 years old, and he fired me. And I went out and I had to go out and get a job because, I needed the money. And I went to my corner deli and got a job washing dishes. And, just that moment of getting fired and realizing like, oh, crap, which is really not what I would say at the time, but it's really not.
Understood.
Understood. Like, wow, I done messed up. I got to go deal with this. And, I worked my ass off at that deli. I worked my ass off. It was all sort of under the table so I could work overtime, and I probably worked 50, 60, 70 hours a week for him. And, but just getting fired was a really big deal, that my dad, and I can't even, now as a dad, I can't even imagine the kick in the gut moment it was for him to have to fire me. Like how hard that would be to know the right thing to do is to fire your son.
Yeah.
But for me, that was tough. That was a really, but that's how I came back from it. I was like, all right, well, time to get it on, let's go. And then, I'm in sales, and I've been in sales forever. So, every time, someone doesn't list a house with me and chooses someone else, it's a total kick in the gut. You'd think you'd get over it. You think at some point, or I don't know if you think, I think I'd get over it. I think, I'm getting turned down for a TED Talk. I'm like, a kick in the gut. It's all a kick in the gut. Everything that doesn't go my way is a kick in the gut to me. Every single loss has felt like a kick in the gut. And it always feels like I'll never win again. It always feels like that's it. My winning streak is over. I've used up all my good karma. This is it. It was all luck. Everything up until now was luck. I run out every single time. Every single time I get turned down. It occurs for me like, that's it. It's over. And, and then it's a question of getting up. It's funny. I just did this. So, I feel like I'm rambling. So you tell me if I'm rambling.
No, you're
okay?
good. You're good.
Okay.
I'm digging it.
I was watching, my sales team. So I'm accountable for 3 or 4 other agents, and we get together and we do our phoning in the morning together on a Google Hangout. And I always play some inspirational videos. And I was watching one with Will Smith, who apparently is in a lot of inspirational videos.
Yeah,
he's really inspirational cat.
Killing it. I dig it. Yeah.
Killing it, right? Really dig it, right? Anyway, he offhandedly mentions in one of these videos that The Alchemist is his favorite book. He thinks it's the best book ever written. I was like, I never heard of that. Let me go read that. And it's a great book. I just read it, and or listened to it on tape because I spend a lot of windshield time driving around as a realtor. So I do a lot of books on tape. So anyway, I was listening to it, and one of the takeaways I got from it was, that you'll be tested. You will be tested before you get your treasure. the universe is going to test you to make sure you've learned all the lessons. And I just thought that is such a badass attitude to have, that is just the best. So no matter what happens, in terms of a failure, a setback or anything, I'm now left with, oh, well, that's the universe testing me to make sure I got all the lessons. Of course, this is happening before I get the treasure. This is natural. This is the exact course of events that is meant to happen before you, fulfill your personal legend, as it would said in the book. But, that's how that goes. So every, failure is just one way that the universe is confirming that you're ready for the next step. And so I love that view. I love that context for this.
Yeah, I do. That's a great book, and that's a short book, by the way, guys. If you
Super
haven't
short.
read it, it's a really short by Paulo Coelho. And,
Yeah, Paulo Coelho.
Yeah, and I follow him on Periscope.
Oh, good.
He jumps on every once in a while, man. He's not on often, but he jumps on every once in a while. He's got some great books out there, and that's one of my favorite. It's Paulo Coelho, right? I think that one's, yeah.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. And I'm telling you, man, that's a really, really good book. And there's many other out there that he's written that are really good. And one of the things that I truly feel that when you were talking about your kick in the gut moment, how every single missed action, every single, like in your industry, somebody else goes with a client goes with somebody else to purchase a house or to sell a house or whatever. You take it personal. And through sales, I always got told this: some will, some won't. So what next? You know what?
That's right.
That rolls off the tongue real easy. But it still is a kick in the gut. It still hurts.
Every time.
You take it personal. And if you don't take it personal, then you're in the wrong business.
I think so. It's just, you got to take it personal, and then you got to shake it off.
Yeah.
You got to, it's got to hit, it's got to hurt, and then you can shake it off. But you got to go through, you got to give yourself the space. You got to give yourself permission to be upset. Give yourself permission to be hurt, Yeah. One of my great coaches once said to me that, pain in life is inevitable. It's the suffering that's optional, and that's the game. You should feel the pain. You should experience that, experience the loss, experience the hurt. And then after you're done experiencing that, then it's time to move on. The suffering comes in when you hang on to the pain, like the pain shouldn't be there, or like that. So,
right, exactly. One of the things I like to always go back on, one of my favorite, I really haven't watched basketball since Jordan finally retired. But one of the things I used to watch Jordan do all the time, and it's a perfect example of this, he would miss a shot or he would do something on the court that he knew he just screwed it up. He would go sit on a bench, he'd put a towel over his head, put his hands on his head, and he sat there for a good 2-3 minutes or whatever, and everybody knew, leave Mike alone. He's processing. He would process the event, and then he'd take that towel off, and he would come back out. It's already behind him, and he's going forward, and he's learned from it, and he's moving forward. And every time you fail at whatever it is, guys, it's a learning. It's part of the learning process. Don't be afraid to fail. It is part of the process. It has to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Love it. So one of the things that really intrigued me about having a conversation with you specifically was that, you got all your real estate stuff you've been doing, and it's awesome. It's very interesting how you went from art into, the food industry. And then you like you said, you reluctantly kind of got into, talking about leading transformational education seminars. It was like, what is all that? Where did all that come from? Talk a little bit more about that. What exactly are you doing? Who are you talking to? And how's that working out for you and for the guys that you're talking to, or the people that you're talking to?
Yeah, well, I like I said, so I was, I got introduced to transformational education with this company called Landmark Worldwide. They do a program called the Landmark Forum, and this was 24 years ago. Which cannot be because I'm only 30, but okay, fine. Right. But I got introduced to them 24 years ago, and it blew my mind. And there's opportunities that they have with that company to continually participate. And I got trained to lead their program. So I don't lead the Landmark Forum, but I lead other programs for them. And or really for me, I don't know how you want to contextualize that, but I lead programs for that company, and I lead them all over the world. I was just in London recently leading one, and I do it. I don't get paid to do it, or minimally for some of them, but mostly not. And I do it because of the opportunity for the difference it gets to make. And they are truly transformational programs, and they're available all over the world. Anyone can participate. It's for everyone. It's transformational in the sense that you don't need something wrong with you. They're not designed to fix something wrong. They don't make things particularly easier. They just give you the opportunity to create a new view. And I think the thing that gets missed for people very often is we live in a society, we live in a culture in the West where things can be both new and improved. You don't think that's weird when someone says it's new and improved. All the time. You hear it on the radio, you hear it on TV. Things are new and improved. But if you think about it, that's bizarre. It's impossible. It can't be new and improved.
Right.
Right? We have a real weird conception of what new is. New almost always for us connotes something better. Something, if it's a new week, it's going to be a better week. Those are almost synonymous for us. But that doesn't make any sense because it can't be better and new. It can't be new and improved. It's either new, never existed before, it's never been around, or it's improved. And we don't really live our lives that way, like something could be new. And that's a really profound opportunity for a human being to live their life like something new could happen for them, something that's never existed before, like when Roger Bannister broke the 4-minute mile. It was literally impossible before then to do that. I mean, medical journals, everything 1950 could not be done. And now he did it, and now high school kids do it. Yeah. So it's new. When something's new like that, you think about the iPhone is 12 years old? Mm-hmm. That's like crazy that 12 years ago there wasn't this thing called a computer in your pocket. And now, you got more computer power in your pocket than got the Apollo missions to the moon. So very true. It's new. It's a possibility for something to be new. So that's the kind of programs that I got really enrolled in and really inspired by and love the opportunity to do. When I do it, do it all the time. I do it a couple times a month. I lead for people, and it just wraps right into my business, and it is the context from which everything I do happens.
Wow, that's really exciting. I really dig that stuff too, and that is an interesting concept. I had never really considered. You hear it, like you said, new and improved all the time. One of the things I say is I tell people all the time, and from my perspective is, I'm not trying to change your mindset as much as I'm trying to enhance your mindset because you've already got so much information in there. But from what I'm getting from what you're talking about is really you are coming up with new ideas for your life. Like, that's okay, right. So you've been a real estate, you've been painting paintings for your whole life. How's that working out for you? Great, but I'd like to do something else. Okay, go be, to me, and you made the correlation. It's very interesting to me that an artist, a fine arts degree can lead into the food industry. That was new to me, but it makes sense. If you're an artist and you make cakes, and part of it is making them look good, not just taste good. It just seems like a perfect fit. I never even considered it.
Yeah, it's even less linear than that, really. Well, if you think about it, there's no direct. I mean, everything opens a new door, right? What if we just lived our lives like we were going to explore what was next, and we were just going to, see what this path took. I think people take so much time trying to determine what the right path is, what the right action is, is this the right thing to do? Is this the right time to do it? What? Says who? Who are you asking?
Right.
Where's that? Who's going to answer that question? Is it the right time? No. Who knows? Maybe.
There's not an answer to it. There's really not.
That's right. You do it, and then it'll be the right time to done it. How do you know? Because you'll get some result.
Yeah.
And the result you got will be the result you got, and then you can go do whatever that result would lead to doing next, because that's the next thing there is to do, because that's what came out of doing this thing in the first place. So, the game isn't figure it out. The game is take the action and see what the next thing is,
Yeah. Experiences as much as possible. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, dig it. Figure it out along the way. So, brother, we're at the point where we're going to pay it forward to our abundant leaders. You ready to do that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Excellent. So share 1 to 3 actionable steps that men of abundance can take today.
Well, it's right inside that. So it's, first of all, I would, in any situation that you're facing, any situation you're dealing with, first stand in wonder. Take a step back. Look at the situation with new eyes. Create for yourself that you don't know how this is supposed to look or how it was supposed to go or how it's meant to be, right? Which we all do. We all know how things are supposed to go. There's not supposed to be traffic. There's not supposed to rain today, whatever, right? All the different things that, we know, the assumptions. My wife's supposed to be this way. My kids are supposed to be this, all that stuff. No, step back, stand in wonder, like, I wonder, and literally just say those words. I wonder what it's like to be my wife. I wonder what could happen if we go out for a date tonight. I wonder, just begin to inquire rather than operate from what we already know. So from there, and then whatever answers come up, I read this great little Abraham Hicks. I don't know if you do Abraham Hicks stuff, but I love all that stuff. Anyway, so, if you get the impulse, if you get the thought to do it, if you see the opportunity to take an action, take that action. Go do that. Whatever that thing is, just take that action, right? So the second step would be to act on it, because the only thing that produces results is action. And you can't think your way into abundance. You can't pray your way into abundance. You can't vibe yourself into abundance. You've got to act your way into abundance, right? You got to come from an abundant mindset, but if you're just, it's always going to show up in life in action. So you got to act on whatever it is that shows up. If it showed up, act on it, and then let it go. Whatever result you got. You don't have to hang on to, you don't have to pretend that the negative result you got or the result you got that wasn't exactly what you wanted is anything less than the perfect result for that action. Because that result is completely consistent with that action, right? Now, if it wasn't the result you wanted, good, then learn from that and take a different action, right? But you've got to keep acting, and you got to take the weight, the significance of the result out of the space. It's just the next result, and then there's the next result, and it's the next result. Because even if you get what you want, you still got to take the next result. You got to take the next action. So I would stop pretending you know how it's supposed to go. Stand in wonder, act, and then evaluate without any of the significance.
Excellent. Yeah, I love that word. That's one of my favorite words is action. Nothing. You're absolutely right. I love the abundance mindset, but until you take action, man, it's not going to happen.
You got to smile and dial.
Absolutely. What daily habits make the biggest impact in your life?
Well, I subscribe to the Miracle Morning practices. So, if that's there's a short book that'll change your life. That book, killer. Short book, change your life. Those practices. So I exercise every day, at least in some way. I journal, I meditate, I visualize, I say affirmations, and I do something else. There's 6 of them, right? So there's 6 practices in the morning. I don't know which. I read. I'm rereading now Think and Grow Rich, which is, I can't believe it's been 12 years since I've read it. Just great read, great tools in that book.
That's a great series, great books. Absolutely love them. And I use a lot of that stuff. I don't use everything with the Miracle Morning, but it is a great start to getting an idea of what your morning should look like and what habits you can do. And it truly is life-changing in so many ways.
Yeah.
So, speaking of other books, what are you reading or listening to that you would recommend to our abundant leaders, and why? We already mentioned a couple books and some very good books, but what else are you reading or listening to that you would recommend to our abundant leaders, and why?
All right. Well, I think the book. So just to change gears, because I've done all the inspirational sort of mindset books, right? The Alchemist, all that, right? I cannot recommend highly enough for any entrepreneur listening a book by Mike Michalowicz called Profit First. It is life-changing in how it has you handle your finances and the actual profitability of your company, because no entrepreneur on this call is busting their ass 50, 60, 70 hours a week to not become financially free. And that book and that program and that way of thinking about your finances is the only thing that I've ever encountered that would actually guarantee your financial freedom. It's a remarkable, remarkable book. Can't recommend it highly enough. Profit First.
I have been recommended that book and heard of that book multiple times, but I still have not read that one. So that's got to be the next one on my
cut
list.
it out.
I've got so many.
Resistance is futile. No, it's an easy read. It's not a short read. It's not like Miracle Morning or The Alchemist. It's not a teeny book. But it's not a big book either, and it's not overly complicated. But it'll nail you, man. It'll leave you profitable. And what else are you doing? Why are you in business if not to be profitable? You cannot make the difference you want to make in the world until you're.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm definitely going to grab a hold of that book right away. Great book recommendations. Absolutely love it. And many recommendations for Profit First for so many reasons that I'm definitely going to grab a hold of that one. So
Great.
What do you feel holds most people back from living a life of true abundance?
I think it's lack of action. I think it's the lack of willingness to act. And I think the lack of willingness to act is... You can think there's a ton of different places where that could be coming from. A fear of getting it wrong, a pretense that you don't know what to do, just Mr. Procrastination, any of those things. But, if you get down to it, it's going to come down to, if the only thing that produces results is action, well, if you're not abundant, it's got to be a lack of action.
Exactly.
It's period.
Exactly. So what does living a life of abundance mean to you, Aaron?
It means living an and both life, not either or life. So if opportunities come up, the opportunity is that you got a chance to ask the question, how can I have this and that, rather than, well, I can't have this because of that.
Right. Yeah, it drives me nuts. One of the craziest things I've ever heard, and a perfect analogy to that is having your cake and eat it too.
Might as well.
You can do both. You can have both. Absolutely. And you can have a great career, and you can have amazing relationships, and you can have, a great income, and have a great soul, and give, and the whole thing. You can have both. Absolutely agree with that. Very cool. So we're going to close this up, man. But before we do, what did we not talk about that you want to ensure that our abundant leaders get out of our conversation today?
I just really appreciate the opportunity. If people want to know more about me or they want to check out my books, they're on Amazon. And the last book is I can't even remember around, right? Short Change by Shortcuts. 44 surprising ways people rip themselves off when they buy or sell their home, which is useful for those in the United States. Goes through the behavioral economics that stop us from making rational choices when we're engaged in the most expensive transaction of our life. But it's particularly written for people in the United States real estate process, buying or selling home here. I don't know how the exact steps translate to other places. So, but at any rate, I think it's an interesting read. It was interesting to write it, and it's available on Amazon. Or they can come to my website, which is rationalrealestate.pro, and stop by, shoot me an email, and Aaron@rationalrealestate.pro, and I'd love to talk to people.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think if anybody's in the process of buying or selling, anything helps. All this is education. There's so much information out there. Quite frankly, your agents and those that are working with them for you, they're trying to make a buck. So it's best to get a third-party point of view. And I think a book like that would definitely be a good read, something for you to get a hold of. So, Aaron, we're going to have that listed up in the show notes at menofabundance.com. All of you guys can go there and check it out so you don't have to worry about writing it down right now. And I greatly appreciate your time today and the conversation. It was really cool. Hey guys, I don't know what happened there. Evidently the audio got cut off for some reason. at the end of our recording, but we were finishing up the show anyway, so it's a good thing that it happened right at the end. Hey, technology's awesome when it works right. In this case, it worked right up to the end. Guys, I'm telling you, man, there are so many ways to gain an amazing education these days. You can do it for free. You can pay a coach. You can pay a mentor. You can get on YouTube. You can get on Udemy. I mean, it's just endless. There's so many different ways. If you've never heard of Mike Rowe Works, I've mentioned this before on the show, look up MikeRoweWorks.com and check out what Mike Rowe of Dirty Jobs and many other things that he does voices for and whatever. He's got an amazing program out there for the trades. And he's got money to give away. There are hundreds of thousands of jobs out there that go unanswered because there's not enough qualified people for the jobs, because the trades have gotten a bad rap over the years, but that's where the money's at these days. So go check out micro.com. I'm not getting paid for this. He's not a sponsor, nothing like that. I'm just a huge advocate of Mike Rowe and what he's doing with Mike Rowe Works and getting our trades back, and he's got money for you. He's just got a few things that he needs you to do to meet your end of the bargain. But there are many ways out there for you to learn a new skill and provide massive value to your community, whether you get paid for it or not. And I strongly encourage you to do that if you truly desire to be a man of abundance. Now, go out and live your life of abundance, and make sure to pay it forward.
That's all for today, Abundance Leaders. For more about our guests and the powerful information we shared with you today, be sure to sign up for our mailing list at menofabundance.com. We appreciate your time and look forward to hanging out with you on our next episode. So until then, be sure to pay it forward and live your life of abundance.